Hello, 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 and welcome to the Grow Giver podcast with Stephen Crawford, Justin Hoke, and today we've got our special guest, besides my lovely wife, Yutong, who's with us, our special guest, Tanishia Epps, and she's here to talk with us today about midterm rentals. Tanisha, so amazing to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm so grateful that you asked me to be here. And let me start with that intro. I really need to get my techie life together because it's really good.
We're going to get you going, sister. We'll do it. Let's go.
It's awesome.
Oh,
How are you guys doing today?
we're doing amazing.
Doing fantastic.
I'm
So
so
good.
excited to see your tongue. I don't know what to do with myself. I think that's the highlight of the show.
Steve
I
is,
have to get on when Tanisha is the guest. So.
yeah, no doubt. So yeah, Steve is hanging out in Las Vegas right now, and dude's at the Ryan Pineda event with Pace. So how's that going, brother?
Oh, it's good. He spoke yesterday on the stage, and so did Jamil, and they both did really good. It was pretty cool to see them do their thing. And there's a bunch of people, other guys who spoke. Ryan's been, kind of doing hosting duties, which has been pretty good too. And it was just an all around pretty good event.
It was pretty cool to get to hear that Pace beat him in golf. So
Always the competitor. He and I have this thing with this Monster Bash pinball game at his house.
Oh,
And I am convinced that I'm going to win at some point. I don't know if that's true, but I'll just keep telling myself that.
it's funny. He tried to rope Yutong into a little bit of competition on the Monster Bash as well.
and that was
But
my very first
He
time.
didn't do it the right way. No. He put up a score of like 1.2 million points, and then he's like, "Okay, Yutong, your turn." Yeah.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
So yeah, no.
I still did pretty decent. I mean,
She
for the
did.
first time,
She
because
did.
I was like, "What is pinball?" And he said, "Oh, you need to see." Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I kid you not. I began thinking that this thing was super easy because she scored like 700,000 points, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so this is cakewalk. So I get on and I do mine, and I'm like 200,000 points or something. So.
Oh, there's a whole strategy behind that game. But I mean, there's a strategy to pretty much everything we do if we really think about it. So I'm just working out my strategy. That's all.
There we go.
There we go. So we are super excited to get to talk to you today about midterm rentals. So why don't you give us a little backstory first?
Sure. So first thing, the number one question I get from people who haven't really heard of midterm rentals is, what is a midterm rental? The best way I can describe it, it's in the middle between long-term rentals, where you have a tenant that comes in and they're going to be with you for at least a year, signed lease, versus short-term rentals, which most people know as what they call Airbnb. I call the platform, VRBO, the people who are kind of on vacation or just kind of visiting for a short period. So midterm is that middle ground where typically they're 30 plus day stays, and they may be with you for a variety of reasons. And the reason that I kind of got into midterm, which is funny because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I wanted my path to be in real estate. I already owned properties before I joined Sub2. I bought 4 houses in a state that I've still never been to, which was pretty entertaining. And I really tried to figure out, like, what do I want to do? Wholesale. It just never really resonated with me, like the whole wholesale cash, etc. I mean, it's cool. It's wonderful ways to get started and continue to build your business. But I didn't want to have this like major funnel of marketing and chasing people and things of that sort. So I really had to sit back and say, what am I interested in real estate and why? And what life do I want to create by getting into that type of business? And really the main thing I want to do is just go to Disney World. And I can't do that if I'm like chasing wholesale deals all the time, if I have this massive marketing machine. I just want to go to all the Disney parks and figure out my strategy on how to not stand in line. Like, that's really my greatest joy in life. Next to my family, I want them to come along too. So I have almost a 20-year background in insurance. And for the better part of that time frame, I was a traveling catastrophe adjuster. So what I would do is we would have major events like a hurricane, a flood, tornadoes, wildfires, things of that sort. And I was one of those people who would go out in the field and go help the people who were affected by these major disasters. So not only did I get to see people at their worst, especially when they've either lost their homes, their cars, sometimes they lost family members, things of that sort, but I also was the traveler. So I was the person who wasn't living in my house. I would travel, my schedule was 3 weeks at a time with 1 week off. And sometimes I would just extend because we were so busy or I didn't have anything else to do. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just stay at work. So I used to live in hotels all the time. They're great, especially when somebody else is paying for it, except when you're stuck in a box for 2 weeks, a month, 2 months at a time, it's old really quickly. Again, this is not a vacation. I'm at work or I have to live my life. I also did a corporate relocation at one point. And again, I had to stay in a hotel until my place was ready. I had to wait for all of my things to be moved, et cetera. So it's an experience and it's not always a lot of fun. So my favorite part though was when I got to stay in corporate apartments because it felt like home. I mean, I didn't get my hotel points and my travel points, which was great for me to go on vacation for free. But the experience of living somewhere you can't replace because I can go into the kitchen and cook whatever meals I want. I learned how to navigate not spending all of my per diem because I had a kitchen and I could, go grocery shopping. So when I really started trying to format what my life looked like and the time that I wanted to commit and spend, I came right back to what I already knew. Number one was how can I be of service? Because you guys know everything about me is how can I serve someone else? I don't make it about me. Yes, we're running a business. Yes, we want to be able to generate income, but how are you providing value to your community and the people around you? And really, I just took it back to what I was already doing in the insurance industry, because that's what I was doing was how can I help these people? How can I provide value? How can I give them an experience, a home away from home, right? While they're going through whatever it is, whether it's a relocation, whether it's an insurance claim, if it's a traveling medical professional. And when I started looking at that, I'm like, I was one of those people and I was staying in the same type of housing. So that's how I ended up getting back to really where I already knew I wanted to be, which was midterm rentals.
I love that. It's so nice when we can marry a past experience with our future goals and being able to go, hey, I want to give a better experience than I had to someone else. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of folks that are watching right now, and they're asking a lot of questions. A lot of people are just actually, sharing love. My brother Marlon saying, "Love Tanisha, love it." Ingrid was on here as well, sharing some love. So
all my favorite people.
Really glad to do that. Some questions have come across too. People expressing desire to get into midterm rentals and understand more about midterm rentals. So Yandi says, "How long was your process until you really got into action?" And
So if we take it all the way back to, I would say when I joined Sub 2, which I will say, and I've told Pace this many times, I joined Sub 2 on accident because I never intended to pay for a mentorship. In my mind, I'm like, I can figure this out myself. I really don't like to spend money. I really don't. I have this thing in my mind. Your tongue and I had this conversation yesterday, so I will not, not take back down into that. But it's just the thing for me. Like I can figure it out. YouTube is a great place, which it is. But when I started my investing career, which by the way, started a few years ago, probably like 10 years ago, I went and got my adjuster's license, not my realtor license. Sorry. I still have all my adjuster licenses. I went and got my realtor license and I said, yes, I'm getting into real estate as a realtor. What I realized is, Tanisha, you've been working from home for like 5 years. And my offices, by the way, are not in Virginia. So I literally had very few connections. Like, how the heck am I going to go be a realtor when I really don't have a customer base here? and I'm an introvert on top of that. So this is not going to work out well. So that lasted all of like 2.5 seconds. And then someone gave me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read the first like 5 pages and I'm like, I'm just going to go do something else. And that's what I did. I put the book down, put it back on the shelf. And then I came back to it just before COVID happened. Funny enough, I read this book. I started doing all this research, started following Bigger Pockets like a lot of people do, right? And I picked up this book called Long Distance Real Estate Investing. The reason I picked up that book was because I'd been going to local meetups and I connected with a lender and she's like, yeah, just file for this line of credit and you'll be great. Well, I did that. And then everything shut down because of COVID. I'm like, oh crap, I'm about to be trying to buy houses or, invest in real estate. And now I can't get any money. Well, because I have my house, I went and got a home equity line of credit and I used that to buy houses with down payments. That's what I use my down payment money for. But then I was like, man, this is great. I bought 4 houses in 7 months, all from reading a book, by the way. I just read a book and followed the instructions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's scary too.
Yeah.
Very scary. And I've still never seen any of these houses in person. Still never. But that's why you have great property management and you follow directions and you have people that can guide you, which is great. But I did a lot of that on my own. So I'm like, man, I'm going to run out of money. How the heck am I supposed to buy any more houses? And then all of a sudden, because what the internet does, it reads your mind. I started getting all these ads for, because I was researching how do you buy houses with no money, kind of like you, Steve. Like, what was it that you researched? How to get rich?
Yeah, I googled how to get how people get rich. I think
there you go. So I literally just said, how do I buy houses without money? And this guy just kept popping up in my Facebook feed and popping up in my Instagram feed, and I'm like, who the heck is this Pace Morby guy? So I go and I start watching. I think it was maybe like a 16-hour live or something that he did. And I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. This is really awesome. He's very charismatic. Like how he draws you in. That's just what he does. And so what happened was I heard, I think it was Jory Alston was talking, and I heard them talk about this Facebook group. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go join the Facebook group. But all I kept hearing was sub 2. So I actually tried to join the private group, not realizing that there was a public group. And someone messaged me and said, hey, did you know you're trying to join a private Facebook group? No. Well, would you like more information about our group? And I'm thinking, if it's private, what do you need to give me information about? And she was like, oh, well, we have a mentorship. Immediately, my flag goes up. Right. I'm not paying for anything. But I just kept watching. I'm like, man, he's talking to me. So I got on a call with one of the onboarding people who beautifully hustled me, by the way. And I use the word hustle in the best way possible. Okay? Because he created this massive, massive fear of missing out. Massive fear of missing out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it's everything I need. And I'm not going to have to spend my own money. And well, needless to say, I joined sub 2 the same day. Okay. Same day. And my first day with sub 2 was a Q&A call. And I get on there and I'm, again, me, introvert. I don't have my camera on. I'm really nervous, all this other stuff. And I'm listening and I'm feeling the environment. I'm feeling the vibe. And I'm like, man, this place is awesome. And then I started doing everything that I heard everybody saying. Oh my gosh, wholesale. You can do everything under the sun. Maybe I'll do fix and flips. Maybe I'll do wholesale. Maybe I'll do traditional rentals. Maybe I'll go do short-term rentals. Maybe I don't know. Anything that came up, I thought, oh yeah, I can go do it. So I spent probably the first 6 to 7 months trying to figure out what in the heck do I want to do? Because I tried a lot of those things. And I spent a lot of time just in a process of elimination. This is not for me. This is not for me. So my fiance and I drew out a whiteboard of all the things that I was interested in and all the things that I had heard about. And midterm rentals was on that board. It was actually at the top of the list. Funny enough, the concept of midterm rentals was at the top of the list. And as I tried all these other things, I just kept coming back to the same thing over and over. That's how I got there. So the better part of a year, it took me to really narrow where I wanted to be. But the bigger issue was why. Not necessarily what do you want to do, but why do you want to do it? And once I got that down, the rest just fell into place. So now it's not complicated. It's actually easy. When I explain to people what my business is, it's so easy for me to talk about it because I believe in it and because it was me. So
that's so cool. I mean, a lot of us, we come into sub 2 and we don't exactly have that clarity, knowing exactly what we want to do. And for that reason, Pace has put together, an entire avatar series so people can figure out, and yes, an avatar series based upon a question that was asked by my lovely wife in a Q&A with Pace a long time ago. But
I still remember that one very, very well. I was standing in the driveway because I couldn't get in the house, but I didn't want to interrupt because it was such a good one that I just waited till Pace was done talking to you so I could tell him come unlock the door. It was such a good one. And yeah, your tongue has really helped. That question set the path for so many people. It really, really did. And the bravery it took for you to get up there and ask that question, like, I applaud you for that, because that was something that helped me as I was listening to it. So like when he talks about the Avatar series, he names people like I'm the helper in the Avatar series, because that's all I want to do is just help people figure out whatever it is that they're trying to do. Same thing with you, Yutong. Like you're a helper, you're a connector, you're the ability for us to figure out where we fit. That was huge. And it was based off of your question and your bravery. So,
well, believe it or not, I at that time I was like struggling. I was like doing exactly what you said, like trying everything, was seeing other people doing. And I was like, oh, I was exhausted. I don't know when is my deal coming in and whatnot. But it wasn't until I accidentally talked with Myron. He was supposed to show me a way to pull like county data, right? But instead, he's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, this and that. And he's like, I think you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You need to go talk to Pace. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And he literally pushed me. He said, like, I'll show you. This is how you do it. You just and message him on Instagram and whatnot. So I'm like, I was like in fear, trembling. As my message Pace, I'm like, well, I think you're probably busy. You're like with the mastermind. So, but dang, at least I can tell my friend that I asked. And then literally, I need someone, because I am just as an introvert as you were. We are recovering,
constantly in recovery.
Yes, that is also very important in the sense that I know that after I push myself, like daily diet, whatever, I feel like I'm changing. But if I ever stop the action, I stop forcing myself to connect, and then the more I connect, the more I can get out. But if I ever roll back, the old self takes in. I'm like, oh, I'm the introvert. I don't want to be on screen, or I don't want to ask people, whatnot. But yeah, that I definitely owe Myron for kicking me into the right direction.
Yeah, I get it. Look, one of the reasons I'm sitting here on the screen is because Pace is like, get out there. Don't be afraid. So he's really pushing me into a new space that I've not been comfortable in, but I'm just going to embrace it and do it anyway.
Well, what are some of the things you're doing to overcome that introvert personality and get yourself out there and get the goals you want to accomplish?
I would say the biggest thing is surrounding myself with people who are encouraging, who are doing the same things that I'm doing. Like the sub 2 community is, I can't say enough about the environment, right? I mean, and I love Pace. He's my brother, like literally my brother. But the environment that's been created has really allowed me to step into who I really probably always was. And I wasn't willing to allow myself to believe it. Probably some, limiting beliefs that a lot of us have. And we have people like Marlon and Keston and, in the group that are constantly feeding us the ability to change your mind. Elena, like those types of people, I would never have met them but for this community. And so the biggest thing that helps me is to help other people. That's really the thing that's pushing me. Like there's someone in sub 2 I talked to maybe like a week ago. She called me because she wants to help me in my business. She wants to kind of plug in and make some calls and things for me. And the call, of course, as I do, turned around on her because I'm asking her, what are your goals? Why are you doing this? Why are you here? And she tells me she's afraid to get on camera, not even just to speak, just to get on camera. So I gave her homework. We talked through it and I gave her homework. And I said, hey, the next call I'm on, I need to see your camera. I just need to see you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to talk. And now I've seen her on like 4 calls in the last week. And every time her camera's on, every time. And I know it's nerve-wracking for her, but me giving that back to other people gives me so much confidence. So the more I can give, the more I can share with other people, the more confidence I've really built in myself. And you know, I started doing consultations for midterm rentals, just kind of talking through strategies with people and really understanding what is a midterm rental, what are your goals, why are you doing this? Let's find out what your client avatar is. So everything for me is about avatars. And what I find is the more I have the opportunity to share with other people, the more confidence I build in my own skills, my own knowledge. And that's really the same with anything. And I like to keep it basic. There was a time we didn't know how to tie our shoes until we did. And now you don't even have to think about it. Can you walk up to a little kid and teach them how to tie their shoes? Yeah, you can. And what it does is reinforces the confidence that you have in yourself.
That's awesome. I think that you kind of found that I'm kind of listening to what you're saying, and I just want you to confirm that I got it right, that you, like, within the community that we're in, the group that we're in, the network, you kind of found the confidence working in there and mostly helping other people, and that's built up your confidence and give back to you in that way. And can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that you said earlier the helper personality. Can you kind of describe that and maybe how that works? Because I think a lot of people maybe hold back from helping other people because there's maybe some sort of competition feeling or scarcity mindset. You know, like there seems to be that when people are first getting into this. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how it some of the positive things that come from it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, you know, the funny thing is, I still get messages from people asking, how did you get Pace's attention? Which is a very odd question for me, right? How did you get his attention? I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't doing anything special. In my mind, I wasn't doing anything special.
Right.
And where I started and I've always been the helper person, like, what do you need? Let me see how I can help you. I don't make it about me. Because again, I get life from giving back to other people. That's just who I've always been. And so when I came into sub 2, the thing that most people knew me for was not about real estate. It was because we would be in calls and Pace would talk about a topic. And I'm like, oh, I know where that is. Here's a link. Oh, I know where this is. Here's a link. And what happened is I started hearing it so often that I already knew what he was going to say before he said it. Because if you're studying, and I was studying the vault, I was studying the information, I was talking to people. As you start to understand the concepts, you know where the conversations are going before they even get there. And so there was this one Zoom that we were on, and Pace was talking through raps. And I'm listening to him talk and I'm listening to the questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this information. So I'm like in the chat, here's this, here's that. And again, I'm getting confidence by doing that because I know I have the answers right. Because it's like being in the classroom when the teacher asks the question and then you already know what the answer is before they finish it. And you're like, oh, let me raise my hand. Oh, let me raise my hand. I have the answer. I have the answer. Versus the time you're sitting there is like, I'm not going to raise my hand because I'm not 100% sure if I know the answer or not. So this one particular Zoom, somebody's asking about wraps, and they ask a question about whether or not you have to fix up a house in order to sell a house on a wrap. And I already knew the answer was no. You don't have to necessarily fix it up if you don't want to. But I also knew where he was going with the conversation. And so I go get this link because I already know where he's going. And he goes, Tanisha, I know this is a stretch, but can you find the Zoom with? And before he finished the statement, I dropped the link in the chat. And he goes, oh my gosh. I watch that one sometimes just because I think it's fun. And it just reminds me of who I've always been, is like, I just want to help. And I'm very good at picking up on cues about people and about things and direction. I'm very analytical sometimes to a default, but and so what started happening was, and this is not my words, this is Pace, it's like the momentum that started building in sub 2 with me just helping, because again, I knew the information. I'm like, well, here you go. I'm just trying to help you out. Really started to build in the group. And so now you would have more people going to get links because they're like, oh, well, Tanishia's doing it. Let me do that too. Sometimes it was because people were looking for attention. Other times it was because they knew where this was because they're studying it. But the more I was able to do that, the more I was able to study and test my knowledge of what I actually knew. So again, it's providing value to me. It's providing value to other people. And more people started reaching out to me, asking me questions. Do you know where this is? Do you know where this is? Well, do you know this concept? It started changing from, do you know where this is, to, do you understand the concept? Can you help break it down for me? So again, I'm helping people through concepts. And a lot of what I started helping people through was that getting stuck in, I just joined a group that has so much information that I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. So my conversation started to pivot to, what do you want your life to look like? Let's start there. And then again, people are reaching out to me more because now they're hearing my name more often. And I'm not, again, I think I told Justin this yesterday, you find me the closest corner and I'm going to hide in it. But my back, it used to be my face would be in the corner so I can't look out. Now it's my back is to the corner so I can watch people and study them and see what they need and really understand the environment that they're trying to put themselves into and where they want to go, following direction. And so for me, it was always easy to help because it was genuine. And that's the difference. If you are helping someone genuine because that's who you are and that's your spirit, those things will always come back to you. Now, is it always in the form of money? No, it's not. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people ask me that question, like, how do you monetize off being a helper? Sometimes it's not the money coming from that person. It's, again, your ability to test your own knowledge and build your own confidence and build your own ability that helps you help someone else that may bring the money to you versus that particular person. And so as I've started getting more into the realm of midterm rentals, like, I'm happy to talk to people. I talk to people all the time. I probably talk to 10 people from this group a day. I've had to cut that back a little bit because I do still have a job, and I like to keep my job until I choose to do something else. But and I don't want to keep taking time away from my family, which is one of the reasons I started pivoting to doing consultations, paid consultations. But that's something also that Pace told me to do, right? So I'm taking my cues from the person who's really helping me to get out of my comfort zone. But it doesn't hurt you to help someone. I mean, I'm watching certain posts where I've had these conversations with people. Like, I think Christy in sub 2 made a post in our group maybe yesterday about a script that it wasn't even a script. I was just having a conversation with her about how to talk to agents and how to have a conversation. Don't go look at it as a sales call. Just talk to people. Really, like what Brent Daniels says about talking to people, it's real. Yeah. Even when you're scared, even when you're nervous, just go talk to people. But don't look at it as a sales call. Look at it as an opportunity to test your own skills and your own knowledge. So I just gave her some things on how to change her perspective on the conversations. She went from, I am afraid to make the call. So she was literally emailing agents a letter of intent without any conversation, without any background for creative finance, nothing, to picking up the phone. And she's actually got deals in her pipeline in less than a week.
Wow.
Ooh, let's go.
Right? Just from changing your perspective. And she, again, classified herself as an introvert. And so for me, I'm happy. Like, when I see that, I get so much energy from that, because now I know that I help someone move in a path that otherwise they may have been stuck. That part for me is exciting. So again, being a helper, not always about the money. Yes, you can monetize on certain things, but you get so much out of it. A helper is a person who genuinely cares about other people. You have to, because otherwise the help is not real. It's opportunistic.
Yeah. That's such an interesting thing. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with that whole concept of tit for tat. You know what I mean? Like, and they don't quite understand that. I think that's cool that you found that inside this community, and you kind of became like a very important piece of the community that a lot of people utilize, and that payment back is sometimes it's just the motivation to maybe it's just motivation to go accomplish your goals because you've helped somebody else, and that's the payment or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. In some way, though, you are getting paid back by, a lot of people say the universe or whatever it is. Some people can get mystical about it or whatever, but I think that's it's a very interesting thing. It's very cool. I like the way you are developing. It's super neat. An interesting story.
Thank you. I think so too. I look back at where I was when I joined, even just this community or before. I look at who I was then, and I'm definitely not the same person. And I'm so grateful for that. But I also have the ability to look back at where I was, which is really what. So I was talking to Justin yesterday because I have a deadline set by my brother Pace for my own podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to determine what I want the name of this show to be, but the concept is really talking to people just about looking back on their journey. So we can kind of go from where they were to where they are now to where they're going. And I don't even have a show name yet. I'm still working through it. But see, again, to me, I care about the journey. I care about the path, because if you can share your past, where you are today and how you got there, including the obstacles, because it's not always easy. If you can do that, appreciate and have gratitude for the past, present, and where you're going in the future, that's where the real opportunity lies.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good podcast, just because people will want to hear about the. It's so often I think that people get to a certain point and then they just want to talk about the things that happened that were good to get them to that point. And all that stuff is great. And it's information you need to know if you're, so many rungs back on that ladder, and you want to know those things, those steps that got them there, but you also want to know the pitfalls and stuff like that. And I don't know, a lot of that's left out in podcasts. I think those pitfalls and maybe those stories that are embarrassing. And if you can draw that out of people with that, like you were saying in that first section where you're talking to them about that point A to point B of where they were to where they are right now before you talk about B to C, I think that'll make it super interesting for people to hear.
Yeah, I agree. And so between that show, and then I'll also be doing one that really focuses on midterm rentals, because I don't want everything to be about real estate, because it's not, but I love midterm rentals. So I am also working on one that will be about that. So we just, I guess, technically launched the Facebook group yesterday, Justin. So,
all right.
The Midterm Rental Mastery Facebook group. So just launched that. I need to make it public though. It's private right now. Just again, another opportunity to help people in the midterm rental arena, but also I want to talk about my own struggles and those of what other people are going through too. I mean, it's not all glitz and glamour. So the same struggles that short-term rental operators have, the same struggles that long-term rental owners, landlords have, it's the same. It's a lot of the same stuff. It's not always easy. And you really have to understand your path and why you're doing it, because that's the thing that makes you keep going. Like I have properties sometimes that they just stay vacant. It's weird what the reason is. And the next thing you know, I'll have a booking for 3 or 4 months. So, those are the things you kind of have to work through as an owner, operator, et cetera. So it's not all glitz and glamour. And you'll have people that reach out to you and they're like, I love your property. And then they disappear. It's the same thing as sellers. Like, I'm going through a foreclosure and I need to sell my house like right now. And then they have an auction date and you never hear from them again. All that stuff happens. So, as we're defining our paths, we just have to say, I'm in it for a reason. And even if it's not, glitzy and glamorous right now, I'm going to stick in it because I chose this for a reason. And that's kind of where I'm at with the midterm rental piece.
Yes, some folks are asking in the comments if they can join the Facebook group. And so the way to join that Facebook group, the Midterm Rental Mastery, just go send a request. Go find them on Facebook. I think I'm helping Tanisha out in the background. That's why I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about here. We haven't gotten a fancy name for it yet. So I like with the Grow Giver where I can just spill it out because it's like a bunch of ones and zeros and letters and all kinds of stuff. But if you look up mid-term rental mastery on Facebook, Tanisha's group should come up, and there's not a lot there yet, but like I told folks yesterday, when I started inviting folks in, you get to be on the ground floor of something really exciting that Tanisha's doing. So
yeah, I'm one of the OGs.
And I'm so grateful for Justin kind of jumping in, because again, at the beginning of this, I said I am not a techie person. I know what I know, but I also have, the biggest thing that I've learned over the last year is people should be doing the things that they love. And if you don't love it, you're really not going to put forth as much effort. And I know I personally have found that, and I'm sure a lot of other people have found that too. You'll find every reason not to do it because you don't want to. And I've just decided on the things I just don't want to do. And if I'm not going to do it, but I know it needs to get done, then who can help me? Right. So I remember back to the mastermind that I went to, the recipe for success. What do I want? Who can help me? And how can I bring value to them? I think about that every day, every single day, every day.
That's a super important thing to think about. Yeah, I love that. How'd that go?
What do I want?
What do I want?
Who can help me? And how can I bring value to them?
Yeah, so that's the goal, is to figure out how you can help them, so that way it's in their best interest to help you as well.
Mm-hmm.
It makes total sense.
Exactly. So I know we talked about a lot of other stuff. Do we want to talk about actual midterm rentals?
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
One of the things is we just so appreciate, I don't know, I appreciate the ability that I've had just getting to talk to you and to know you, and you draw clarity out of people. And so it's fun to get to do that, to interact with you. And as far as, I don't think anybody watching right now would know that you saw yourself as an introvert at all. I mean, you're natural on screen. I'm so excited about the shows that you're going to have. They're going to be amazing. And yeah, so I think that's why it's easy to just, we've spent 40 minutes and we haven't even gotten into midterm rentals yet. So we probably want to open up to allow some of the folks on who are watching live to ask midterm rental type questions. But maybe if you want to steer us back in that direction, maybe go ahead and do you have a sort of a question that will get us back into there, Steve?
Well, you talked about a little bit about what midterm rentals are when you're talking about your story, and how you had to utilize midterm rentals and how much better they are than hotels for a stay that's, longer than maybe a week or something like that. Mm-hmm. We kind of hear a lot about like short-term rentals and how they're more profitable than your regular old long-term rental, I guess. Maybe you can talk a little bit about midterm rentals and what are some of the advantages as compared to a traditional year-long lease that most people would think of when they think of being a landlord.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll start with being a traditional landlord. So the benefits of being a traditional landlord is you have somebody there that's guaranteed for, you hope, is guaranteed for, the year or 2 years or whatever time frame you have your lease. So you don't really have to worry about turnover until you're close to the end of the lease or whatever. After that, it's more of maybe some maintenance, maybe a couple calls here and there. My favorite one that I ever got was, hey, my light bulb is out in my refrigerator. And my response was, oh, thanks for letting me know. Hey, Home Depot's like right up the street and it's $2 for a light bulb. I mean, I'm happy to send my property manager for that, but so long-term, easy. You don't have to do any work other than get someone in there. So if you think about the tiers of the capital that goes along with that, you're going to get traditional rent money because you don't really have to do a whole lot, hopefully.
Right.
Short-term requires a lot more work because you have constant turnover, especially if you're managing them yourself. So you may have somebody stay for a day or two. I know a lot of people that have stopped doing 1 day booking allowance because, again, it's a lot of turnover, a lot of dealing with cleaners, a lot of communication, a lot of systems that you have to put into place to make sure that you're ready for people coming in every single day. I personally chose not to do short-term rentals, not because of the money aspect, because the money is there if you are a good operator, but also if you're good on hospitality. Because at the end of the day, this now becomes a hospitality business. The minute you move out of long-term rentals, you're now into a different space. So you're providing furnished housing for people for specific reasons, and really understanding your client avatar and why they would stay with you is one of the big things that you have to think about when you're getting into short-term or even midterm rentals. Why is this person even coming to me? So now you're looking at a hospitality business providing a 5-star experience or better, even though like on Airbnb, I guess you can only rate 5 stars. I've actually never booked on Airbnb, but I have my properties on there. But my goal is to give people better than a 5-star experience, even if they can only rate me for 5 stars. But again, I care about people. I care about the hospitality. I care about their experience. And that is what I harp on with people. So now you're moving into a hospitality business that happens to be real estate related. So now when we're differentiating from short-term rentals to midterm rentals, now it's more of what do you want for your personal life? What time do you want to commit? How much turnover do you want to deal with in your properties? Again, I don't want to deal with constant turnover at all. So for me, my clients typically stay, it may be 30 days, it may be 60 days, it could be 6 months, it could be a year, but that's based off of their circumstance. So most people, when they hear about midterm rentals, or there's so many names for them, corporate rentals, midterm rental, medium-term rental, extended stay rental, all of them are the same thing. It's just a matter of who your clientele is that you're serving. Most people think travel nurses or travel medical professionals. I never lump the category of nurses only, because you do have travel radiology techs. Well, they're not necessarily a nurse. You have travel doctors, and they sometimes travel with their families. So that's one arena. Then you also have the corporate clients who are traveling for work, like I was, where they're going to come and they're going to be in an area for maybe an assignment that lasts 30, 60, 90 days. You never know the reason why. I actually just got a request from someone yesterday because his job is relocating him here and he needs a place for 6 months. And that has nothing to do with the medical professional. You'll get, so relocations are big. You have construction companies that have crews coming in from different areas, and they will, and Yutong can speak to this one because she's had this in one of her midterm rentals. You'll have people who are working on construction projects, big buildings, things of that sort. I did this earlier. I don't know if everybody can see behind me, this little stand right here is full of Lego sets because I'm a big Lego fanatic. Well, they're building a Lego factory in my city. Like it's the greatest thing I heard all last year. So not only am I trying to figure out how I can go and work there, but really I just want to go figure out how I can build Lego sets. But I'm reaching out to them as a company to find out if they're going to have people coming here from out of town that are building the facility that need extended stay housing. So see, all of these different things you have to think about when you're looking at your client avatar so you know who to go after. Now, I personally am not necessarily focused so much on the individuals. I'm more focused on companies because I can expand my brand a little bit faster. That way, I've already got 2 contracts that I'm working. And so another side of my business that I'm actually doing right now is bringing on, and I've been talking to a lot of STR operators, short-term rental operators that are seeing a slowdown with their properties on Airbnb. And I'm giving them the opportunity to come into the fold under my business, under the relationships or partnership that I built. Not guaranteeing that they'll get their properties booked, but if you can, then I can help you get your place rented through some of these extended stay measures while you're having problems getting them rented under short-term rental. The Airbnb algorithm just changed a bunch. Now, is the money always the same? Because this goes back to the question that you asked, Steve. No, it depends, right? So if you're going with travel medical professionals, you have to understand their business. So, for example, I was a corporate traveler. I got a salary. I got a per diem. I got a hotel stipend. They paid for my housing. Travel medical professionals have a couple of different options on how they get paid. They can either get paid as a travel stipend for housing and meals separately, or they can take money directly or they can have the company directly book their housing for them. And not necessarily a lot of agencies will do that. It just depends on the agency. Well, if it's me, again, in my traveler brain, I'm taking all the money myself. And then what I'm going to do is figure out how I can keep as much of it in my pocket as possible, right? So if you understand the goals of your clientele, it will help drive you to your business and set your pricing and determine if whatever property you have makes sense. Like if I go get an arbitrage property, let's say I go get an arbitrage an apartment. I'm just going to throw that as an example. And my apartment costs $2,000. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to go rent to travel nurses. And I see that most of the requests I'm getting are for people in a private room that they want to pay less than $1,200. That does not help me unless I have a house that has at least 3 bedrooms where I can do now rent by the room, and I'm going to separate it and run them like their own units, like almost like a multifamily, and then collect rent from each individual. So these are all the things that you kind of have to think about when you're looking at getting into midterm rentals and who the clients are that you're going to serve and where's your money going to come from.
That's crazy. That whole thing where you could rent it out by the room, I had never even heard of that. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's just like think about like sober living or student housing or things of that sort. Same concepts.
But that makes a lot of sense, especially for somebody traveling by themselves. Maybe they don't want to live by themselves, or or they just want to save a little bit of money by sharing a place with somebody else. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I just shared in the comments the link to the group there. So it's a bunch of numbers followed by Facebook /groups for folks that want to join.
Can you pin this to the top?
I can't.
Oh, okay.
But thank you. Nicole asks, she says, what's the best place to post a midterm rental, or how do you find tenants?
So number one, you can always use the Airbnb platform. Just so you know, you can always use Airbnb. You can always use VRBO. Those platforms people still search on. The thing is just your visibility. Airbnb has a section of their rentals. If you choose that you're willing to accept longer stays, they have a whole page that's just for monthly rentals. So you can still use Airbnb. You can still use those different platforms in order to list your properties. However, after that, again, you have to think about who your corporate clients are. So a lot of people talk about Furnish Finder, which does not have an S on the end of it, by the way. I'm a big stickler for spelling. It's Furnish Finder, furnishfinder.com. They have an ability to list your property. It costs, I think it's like $100 to list your property. And I've got some different strategies behind that one as well that, I talk to people in some of my consultations. But you can go list on there and have your place visible to travel medical professionals, but they're not the only ones that look there. It's also relocation companies. They actually will go on Furnish Finder as well. You've got people who are moving to the area. I've hosted people that are moving to the area, staying for, maybe 2 months before their house is ready, or they just sold their house and they're looking for a place to stay in between their next place being available. And they've contacted me through Furnish Finder. So again, that is a very good resource to be able to list, but you can still use Airbnb, VRBO, amongst others, but those still work.
Sean asks, or he says that he has 2 midterm rentals that he needs to set up, and he says, do you want to talk about partnering on them? I don't know if he's asking you specifically, or if you want to talk about how a person goes about finding a partner to partner up to set up midterm.
He's talking about her specifically. He says, Tanisha, I have
yeah,
2 midterm
I was trying to steer the question in the way I wanted, but thank you.
Oh, I got you.
You can contact Sean later, Tanisha.
Yeah, you can definitely shoot me a DM either on IG or Facebook, which is just my name. Anytime you can definitely reach out to me. But if you want to talk about how to partner with someone in general, right? Versus a specific niche, I would definitely say I would not partner with someone on midterm rentals that only does long-term rentals, because they can't help you because they don't know the business and they don't know the client avatar. And this is just in general for finding a partner. And I think, excuse me, I think everyone on the screen has done a partnership at some point or other. I want to work with people that I like. Point blank, period. I want to work with people that I like, that I built a relationship with, and that I trust. And trust is a huge thing. Like I'll throw, because I see Ingrid's name here. I would work with Ingrid all day long. Yeah. Because I know Ingrid. I've been to Ingrid's home. I've spent time with her family. I would do deals with Ingrid. I would work with her all day long because I know her, I like her, and I trust her. Otherwise, I do a lot of vetting. I try to get to know people, because the more I can get to know you, the better our relationship can be. And everything for me is about relationship. Now, will I bring someone under the kind of preferred partner portion of our company where, again, we're helping people try to find placements for midterm rentals? Yeah, I can do that. But I also still have to vet not only you, but I have to vet your property, because again, I have a certain brand that I uphold, and that starts with me as a person. Mm-hmm. And so if the person I'm working with doesn't have the same ideals, doesn't, and their property is not geared toward the person's experience, then I wish you the best, but we're maybe just not a good fit.
Now, Ingrid mentions as well, she says, and I think this is really important that she points out, considering the recession we're about to go through, rent by the room may be a great opportunity. And she was piggybacking off of something you said there earlier. That is a great opportunity. How hard is that to set up?
Again, this all goes back to your clientele that you want. But in general, let's say I'll give 2 examples. So there's a site called PadSplit. I've not personally used it, but I know some people that have. It allows you to literally rent your house by the room. And the biggest thing that you have to do is treat every room as if it's its own property. So you'll have your shared spaces, making sure people understand that there are certain areas that they're going to share. But then for every bedroom, you treat it like its own room. It has its own lock on the door. I like digital locks because they're easy. You can change the code. You don't have to do a whole lot of work. They have their own locks. They have, you have your own leases by the room. So again, it's just like a mini apartment, but in a house, the same as you would do student housing. So if you're a student and you're going to go rent a home, right? Or a room in a dorm, because if you think about that, dorms are nothing more than rent by the room. It's an apartment building that's a rent by the room. It's the exact same concept. So you're just going to sign a lease with each individual person and then have them pay you rent. And then they share a space. But you give them their own lock, their own separate, whatever it is in that room. And then if it's me personally, if I have a room that has an ensuite bathroom, that one's going to cost a little more because now you have privacy versus the other ones that may be shared. And you just make sure that you're clear with that. The second piece for me about rent by the room. And a lot of people don't know this about travel medical professionals, and I'll throw this out there. Sometimes they travel together.
Oh, really?
So you have people traveling together. They want to be in a house together, right? You're still going to treat them as individuals, but now you've got people who already know each other that want to rent a house together and come work an assignment. And I have one right now. I just got an inquiry for yesterday. These people are going to two different hospitals. One is in the city and one's about an hour away, but they want to stay in the city. So they're renting a place together and then working at two separate locations. So there's a ton of different ways that you can do it. But
do you think that one of the advantages of that is that if say you get 3 people that are traveling together and they're all nurses or whatever profession, but if you start charging them separately, if one person doesn't pay, at least you're still getting part of that rent, and you can evict one person and still be getting paid something, covering whatever your costs are for the place. I think that's
you got it.
super
Again,
cool.
it's just like an apartment building, right? So the biggest thing with apartments, and you all know this because you're into multifamily, you're not relying on that one person that pays the entire rent. Now you have multiple people to spread it across. So if you have vacancy in one area, it doesn't hurt you as badly because you're still generating income from somewhere else.
Super neat.
So we're now at 57 after. It's been an amazing hour that we've gotten to spend with you, Tanisha. Thank you so much for being on the show and for joining us today to talk about midterm rentals and letting folks get to know you. I mean, a lot of folks in sub 2 eager to get to know I know you don't like it when I say the Tanisha. You let me know very clearly at Clever. Don't call me that, but at the same time, it's a real privilege to get to meet you. You've provided so much value in the community and continue to provide value. So it's been an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for coming on. And, thank you for everything you do inside the network that we're in. I mean, that's been so helpful for so many people. And it's really apparent by how many people are watching this show right now on YouTube alone. In the morning on a time we don't even throw the show, we have 10 people watching. That's just on one spot. So I know there's a lot of people excited to see you and hear what you have to say. I think your podcast is going to blow up. I'm excited to see it as well.
I'm excited to see it as well because I don't really know all the parameters yet. So this is going to get really interesting very fast. I'm going to have to go back through the comments because I saw at least Ingrid popped in a couple of possible names for at least the one with my interview format. So this should be good. But I appreciate all of you for inviting me because, again, as I said, this gives me the chance to step out of my comfort zone, get to talk to other people and share. And that's really what I care the most about. So thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. And if you ever want to come back on to promote anything, let us know. We'll have you back on as well.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, guys, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the Grow Giver community. We're so excited to have you here with us today at 1 Central Standard Time. I'll be doing 2 hours of agent outreach calls. Please join me for that. There'll be a Zoom link in the Grow Giver community, which you can reach by going to www.facebook.com/groups/the Grow Giver. And we'll be doing agent outreach together. It should be a great time. Tomorrow, we're interviewing on the Grow Giver podcast at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, same time as we'll be doing the agent outreach today. But tomorrow, we'll be interviewing Manif Saza. And then every day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m., join us for Growing Your Mindset with Adam Diaz and myself. It's a great time to be able to sort of set our mindset right so that we can go after the day ahead of us. So, folks, it's been so great to have you with us, Tanisha. Man, this has been a great show. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I guess without any further ado, we'll wave goodbye to our audience, and we'll see you all in the next one.